Hello guys, it's me Simo Urahara, and in this video we'll talk about why Ichigo didn't have an Asauchi or a Real Zanpakuto. And if Ichigo didn't have an Asauchi, then what is the thing he was fighting by? So, as an answer to this question, we can start from a fundamental idea, which is Ichigo was not fighting using an Asauchi made by Nimaya. That's the case. How is that? First, let's go back exactly to the moment when Ichigo and Renji came to Nimaya. Renji came without a broken Bankai. We may say slightly broken because there were some pieces in the old Bankai that were broken, but not in the way the Tensei Zangetsu was broken. The Tensei Zangetsu was in a state that wouldn't allow Ichigo to use it again. The difference between Ichigo and Renji is that Renji originally had an Asauchi because he entered to the academy and was given an Asauchi that was made by Nimaya, and then he shaped it like the Zanpakuto we know. But Ichigo originally didn't have any Asauchi made by Nimaya. For this, I believe that the story of Nimaya's Asauchi test was not for Renji and Ichigo, but only for Ichigo. We saw Renji standing and there was no Asauchi standing beside him, holding his hand, like we saw later with Ichigo. All the Asauchi who were next to Renji were defeated, and for that Ichigo believed that the training was for those who would stay fighting the Asauchi to the end. And when Nimaya told them how much time they were fighting the Asauchi, Ichigo thought that it was a matter of limited time and he failed in it. But Nimaya told him that it wasn't about who would continue to fight, it's simply that you weren't chosen by the Asauchi. And that was the crux of the matter. Nimaya already knew that Ichigo's mother was a Quincy, and he knew that he had two powers inside him. He knew that White was a combination of an Asauchi made in a way similar to the way he made his own Asauchi, and Ichigo's Shinigami power was mixed with White. And even more than that, which I find not normal, Nimaya knew even Ichigo's Quincy power. You will tell me, but it's not a big deal. You have just said he knows that Ichigo's mother was a Quincy. Yes, we all agree on this point. But the most shocking thing for me is that he knows that Ichigo has Quincy powers formed in the form of an entity and taking the form of Yhwach 1,000 years ago. I may understand Nimaya's ability to know the names and the identities of all the Zanpakutos, but to the point he knows even a power he doesn't control, which is a Quincy power. Here I say that the information he has about the Osan Zangetsu was given to him by Ichigo, because I do think that Ichigo is the one who told Nimaya all this information, because Ichigo was originally the one who used his ink and prevent Osan Zangetsu from pronouncing his real name, which is Yhwach, which can give us a clear picture that Ichigo in Nimaya from the beginning of the story knew the Osan's identity. That's why I believe that Ichigo in Nimaya wanted Ichigo to learn the truth about his power through 3 stages, the first of which was the Asauchi test. The end of the test, it made clear to Ichigo that if he stayed there for the rest of his life, no Asauchi would choose him. Because according to Nimaya, he doesn't know who he is, nor does he know his roots. Because think about it guys, Nimaya could have told Ichigo the whole truth about his identity and that there is someone inside him that was lying on him all the time. But no, first of all, he wanted him to know some of the truth from his father. And here we will talk about the second stage. And Ishin of course told him about his roots, and as we saw in the last episode that his mother was from a Quincy family named Kurosaki, and there was a fight between Ishin and a hollow creature, and that hollow power was moved to Masaki and then to Ichigo. This information was a part of the truth that Ichigo should have known. The remaining part of that truth was represented in the third and final stage. When Ichigo returned to Nimaya, the latter became sure that Ichigo knew that he possessed Quincy power, and that there was a creature whose power was transmitted to him by his mother. Because Nimaya needed Ichigo to know this information in order to prepare him for the shocking truth, and so that he made him choose an Asauchi. The Asauchi who surrounded Ichigo were all in black, and when he chose one of them, it suddenly changed to white and took the form of Ichigo's hollow shape that is inside him. and this was a clever move by Nimaya, because he used that Asauchi to lure Hollow Ichigo, who is his Shinigami power, and reflected it on that Asauchi. And that's where the process of reforming the Zanpakuto began. And then Nimaya told Ichigo, isn't that strange that the Asauchi, as soon as you touched him, turned to white? The same color as the Hollow inside you? What does Hollow have to do with it? Isn't just a Hollow power? And then Nimaya will explain to Ichigo further that this whole situation, this whole process he did was to get his Zanpakuto into that Asauchi. And his Zanpakuto is actually the Hollow, or let's say Shirosaki. So this Zanpakuto is a unique one. Because as Nimaya said, that white was made by the same way Nimaya creates the Asauchi. It's like you're saying there are two products but are made by different companies. And this is explain why I said that Ichigo is not like he was fighting without an Asauchi. It's just that he was using another Asauchi which is different from the rest of the Shinigami's Asauchi. And that unique Asauchi was merged with Ichigo's Shinigami power and formed in the Zanpakuto we saw at the beginning of the story and also in the end of it. While the other side of the story, who is the Osan, turns to be the Quincy power of Ichigo. After that, what I see happened is like this, and I hope it will be explained in the anime in a clear way. We saw that Ichigo, when he entered into his inner world and began to know the whole truth about the reality of the Osan, at the same time Nimaya was preparing with his team the Asauchi in order to receive Ichigo's full power without restrictions. And then the Osan Zangetsu gave Ichigo the real Zanpakuto, which was the same as shape as the previous Zanpakuto, and the difference was in the amount of power each shape has. So what happened is that Ichigo's great and extraordinary strength that was going to be received by the Asauchi automatically made Ichigo divide the sword into two blades, a Quincy blade and a Shinigami blade. This was just Ichigo's will. And it's not that this shape is the final shape of Ichigo's true Shikai, because after that, at the end of the manga, we saw the two swords return to one blade, which is completely similar to the blade that the Osan gave to Ichigo, whether in the past or in the final chapter of the manga, and we saw that also in the Hell chapter, Zangetsu was in the one blade. So now we are about to see the whole truth in the anime in the upcoming episodes. As I said, I wish we can see some more details about the process of how Ichigo will get his true Zanpakuto. So that's the case, guys. In my opinion, Ichigo wasn't fighting without any Asauchi, but he was fighting with his Asauchi that was made unintentionally by Aizen Sasuke. So guys, tell me what you think about that and see you in my next video.